welcome to the last presentation of Rumex. So, Bart,
Yeah.
take it away.
Yeah. Okay. Hello. Good evening, afternoon still. So how's everyone doing? Yeah. I've really enjoyed myself today. I really like what Jim and Mary and everyone have done everywhere. It's good job. Um, Right, since it is the graveyard shift, the last presentation before the lightning talks, I wanted to do a little bit of a warm-up. So everybody get up. No, I'm kidding, but I am going to do a warm-up with you. Right, how had I... Michael, it's... From you, I'd like a number between 1 and 8. 7, okay. So let's remember that. Oh my god. There's lights here. I'll continue. Yeah. So, from you, I'd like to have a number between 1 and 16. 30? 13. 1 and 16. 7 as well. Okay, so it's 7, 7. Excellent. And Mary, could you say left or right? Okay, so count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Well, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's no one button to the left. So we have no winner of our warm-up. That's rather sad. But you can be the winner. Anthony is the winner! I have a prize for you. It's something for your energy. You can have a Snickers bar, a banana, or a granola bar. Or this, yeah, there's two. Yeah, so give him an applause. Yeah. Oh, you want the other one? Oh, no, you can. This was the warm-up. So, okay. Now, let's get back to business. Who am I? Hi, I am Bart. I'm a software engineer in the fulfillment space, and yeah, still there. At Team 15B, we're mostly responsible for stock-related stuff, all varying things. I worked at Top Desk for 7 years, here at bol.com since December 2014, and it's been pretty great so far. Kind of depends on how this presentation is going. Never mind. Yeah. Okay, so now I live in Amsterdam, but that's fine. This presentation is about fit. The subtitle is what to do when your service is overweight, and because that was kind of a situation we found ourselves in with Fit. Fit was one of the very first services that was extracted of the LSM. I don't think it was the first. I think ASE holds that, and Matthijs has told us what is the state of that now. But throughout the years, it has grown slightly. So we now needed to split it at one point, and I'll be discussing that process because it's something that could happen more since we're building so much awesome stuff here at bol.com. So first, I'll give a quick overview of Fit for the people who don't know it. Then I'll go into our diagnosis, how we came to find that it was overweight and needed some trimming down, some splitting. Then I'll go over how we started it, how we planned it, how we executed it. Then I'll look into where we are now and what we still need to do. And then I'll go over some learnings and recommendations for that. So, what is Fit? Well, apparently Fit Man Cook, but what I want to talk about is the service Fit. Fit is for forecasting and inventory management. And, well, it's in the name. There's two major parts. One is the forecasting part, and if you've been to Jelmer's presentation, this is about a moderately adequate robot that he was talking about. That is Slim 4, and the forecasting part is basically communicating with Slim 4 and sending that all kinds of data they need to make sales forecasts. and taking purchase advices and sending those over to our purchasing system. Then there's the inventory management part of Fit. And yeah, that's basically process all kinds of data from our warehouses and throw that into different kinds of stock models so that we know what is where, what it is worth, and well, yeah, different kinds of what is there. It's pretty cool. Anyway, it sends all this data to all our different stakeholders and systems like pricing and availability in the web shop and finance for the CM1 calculation and matching received goods to payments and stuff like that, and for fulfillment for a host of options, because that's all about stock. So yeah, that was a short introduction into Fit. Now we'll go into about how we made the diagnosis. Yeah, there were several aspects, several symptoms, if you may. The obvious one is, of course, there's an and in the name. It's like one of the big red flags of object-oriented design, that if you put an and in your name, then you probably have a problem with your design. But in this case, it may not have been that big of a red flag, because at the time it made sense. The LSM did everything on the fulfillment side, and Fit was intended to take all the stock responsibility out of the LSM, and for the forecasting part is about replenishing stock. So it's not as obvious as it may seem, but it was definitely a big indicator that we had to investigate this process. Then there's code cohesion. Once again, it's similar to with object-oriented design. We'd be working on Fit for a year, and then still there'd be entire mountain ranges of codes that I never even had come close by, and that's a pretty strong indicator that there may be something we'd need to adjust. Another part of this is that at one point there were 3 different teams working in the code base, so yeah, then you don't really have a nicely consigned domain model. For moving to domain models, one of the issues we had is that there's lots of different stakeholders that we always had to communicate with, that made our backlog interactions very complex. There was a lot of politics, so and splitting it up can help with getting the responsibilities for a single team to a single stakeholder, which makes everything easier, especially for POs and everyone. And there's also the other part, that different stakeholders require different optimizations in your data. And like software engineering is engineering big time, which means that you're doing trade-offs all the time. And if you have something like this, it's not all conclusive, but there's only one area you can really optimize at a time. And we had our stakeholders all pulling us in different directions, which didn't make the engineering process any easier. Yeah, many domains, lots of code with low cohesion, and there was end. And then there was also that we found that we had vastly differing non-functional requirements. All the stock processing that was just a typical backend process that was chugging along in the background in the LSM, while in the meantime we had endpoints that were pretty much directly exposed to the web shop, that had constant high frequency requirements and low time, you know what I mean. And then there were even financial processes that like could only run once a month or something. So there was a big difference in what we needed to optimize there. So that was another red flag for we may need to do this different. And then there's existing knowledge and experience. We talked to everyone who had been working on these processes, these domains, and found out that, yeah, at the time it was the right move, but it was time for a next step. So how did we go about executing the split? So yeah, as I said, when we got these ideas, when we made the diagnosis, we gathered support. We talked to a lot of people who had experience, because at first you're thinking like splitting up a service. I mean, we just moved it out of the LSM, where we're moving to a surface-oriented architecture, and this is a service. Be happy, for crying out loud. But anyway, given the red flags and the future development that we wanted, we really felt that there is lots of advantages to this split, and by gathering support, we convinced all our stakeholders and everyone that this was indeed the right thing to do, and then we made a plan. Ta-da! This was December 2015, I think. We made a first instance of this plan. So yeah, it's been a while in the making, and this one outlines a couple of simple steps that could be done in any order, basically, except for the first one. And so there was a small, well-defined first step, and then lots of possible other steps. So yeah, first small steps, and we just took that. We agreed on the plan, we worked it out, and then we just took the first step, which was splitting up our API. We had version 3, which had everything, and then for version 4, we split up the API into 3 separate domain models, which we had by now found out were the separate domain models covered in Vim. And this step after the plan really got the ball rolling, because not only was it a first step on the road, but it also immediately communicated to the rest of the landscape that these were separate domains that we wanted to evolve separately in the future. So this was really an important step that kicked the process off. So, right, yeah, like I was saying, after we took the small steps, the impact and the scope of what we wanted to do changed a lot, and got defined better and better. And what we did at that time was tie all the technical changes we wanted to functional changes. And since the ball was now rolling pretty nicely, tying it into functional changes really allowed us to drive us on the path while still developing features that our business users required. So then over time, as we developed new things, the plan evolved. And because the very first original plan was obvious, was this. But then we investigated the domains, and as we looked at what is actually there, it turned out that there was a third domain which had different non-functional requirements and was partially required by both domains, and really was well concentrated on its own. So that was the warehouse configuration part, which you saw earlier. And then as Jelmer and Özgun came along, they said, oh, we want a new forecasting model. And we all thought, yes, that's great. And then we thought, that's even greater, because we haven't taken that step on the forecasting thing yet. So that's work we no longer need to do. Yay. So that was good. And then as we developed more and more, then we found that given our vision for the future of how we want to code, well, preferably today, but if not today, maybe tomorrow, we found that we could take even more aggressive steps on the split. And because the 6 stock models that I talked about earlier, some of those make their own domain with their own stakeholders, and we decided that we can pull out even more services. And so this is pretty much the last plan, I think. Check with me tomorrow. But yeah. So that was slightly the history, how the plan changed and how we went about executing it. Let's see where we are now. So and where we are going. If anyone knows the largest rocket, that's operational in 2024 and it's going to be awesome. Really, really awesome. Back and forth to Mars and stuff. It's really, really cool. So where we are now, not on Mars yet, but also moving there, I believe. So we have now a dedicated stock level service. We have the vast dedicated valuation service came online yesterday. So, and all the other the warehouse configuration service is even in the lead. So that's pretty cool. The new forecasting service is there, but we need to hook that up to all the right processes yet. But as I found out today, that's team is starting at the end of summer, so something we can give to them as a neat little package. Yeah, so the only thing, oh yeah, I had a quote with this, like, because most of the services are already there, so as Gandalf would say, the board is set and the pieces are moving. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so after that we just need to remove the old forecasting part and the integration with that. It's gonna be quite a bit of work, but there is also innovation coming up in that area, and we're tying it to that innovation. Yeah, then we should end up in a situation like this, and yeah, that should make us ready for anything in the future. So that was where we are, where we're going, some quick learnings. So, right, yeah. As I described, there were quite a lot of red flags which told us we need to do something about this, but I think the biggest and maybe most effective one was that with all our different business domains that we covered in the service, we constantly had to talk to all kinds of different stakeholders. And I think that might be the strongest indicator that you need to split up your service. Then, if you take the decision to do that, it really helps to make a clear plan with small steps, and not only a plan, but also really a vision of where you want to go, because we had the plan quite early on, and the plan helps to guide you on the path, but only since we've really had a vision about this have we been driven over the path. If you, yeah, so the plan guides you, but the vision drives you. Small steps in the plan that keeps you agile, keeps it easy, and that really helped for us to change the plan while we were taking the steps. And this one's quite important as well. The plan needs to be as changeable as it is, but the vision should be perfection. The vision should be how everyone and their grandmother should be developing. The vision should be utopia of awesomeness. So you need to take every step towards that vision, and any step that would not lead in that direction should just not be taken, because you need to take that step back again, and that's twice as hard. And it can, of course, be that your vision is wrong. That happens. Nothing is perfect, but then you need to adjust your vision, and that's better. Yeah, we did this. That's good. It's good for yourself as developers, because you're contributing more tangibly, but it also helps with the communication with stakeholders and everyone. It's just a good idea. Oh yeah, and this one, we've thought that we could do this on several locations, on several occasions, like just take the code as it is in the old service and put it in the new service, or put it in the new database schema and just let it run there. It has not been a good experience for us. So take the opportunity to reevaluate the design and make it work better. So yeah, those were the learnings and recommendations. I discussed what fit was, how we made a diagnosis, how we went through the plan, how we evolved the plan, where we are now and what we need to do, and some learnings and recommendations. So that was it. Any questions?
Yeah. Okay. Well.
How did you create the plan? So how much effort did you put into that? Because I can imagine you have your big application. So
Yeah.
plan is about thinking how are we going to split
Yeah, that
this?
was quite tough. There was a lot of the earlier experience that I talked about. Talked to a lot of people, and our architect Peter Paul, he helped a lot with that. And basically, at some point, we just took all the stored procedure packages and all the Java classes and all the Java packages and just started assigning them to domains. And then from luckily, we never really had to do anything with that, because the plan evolved into making better code instead of moving old code. But that did make clear what the separation of domains was, and how we could move organically into a direction where the domains were properly split.
It was just a small point in your presentation, but you made it sound really easy. But how did you convince your stakeholders and product owner in doing this?
Yeah, that's a good point. Part of it was that our stakeholders and product owners were pretty awesome, so that helped. But I don't really know. Maybe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the benefit of having less politics is clear to everyone, whether you're technically inclined or not. And well, there's a lot of the basic arguments for having smaller services, which are simply true. And
how did it use the politics? Because you still have the OPEX on both services.
yeah, good question. You asked how did it reduce the politics. Good question. I'm not quite sure if we're really there yet. So, but
You just have to give away some services to other teams.
yes, and well, for SFT that happened, and we did that. You got one of ours. Yeah, behind there.
Can you tell a bit about what advantages and disadvantages putting a network between all the layers, or the now
The
separate
different
services?
domains. Yeah, you're right that you are introducing potential latency by separating the data and putting a network in between it. But the advantages mostly in I spoke about the different non-functional requirements per domain, and the fact that you can scale your applications for a single purpose is vastly outweighs the extra network delay that you're going to have in your services that need more from those services. So instead of having one giant computing engine that also needs to be really fast serving the web shop. You have a computing engine that is chugging on, and you have a service layer that services the web shop that can be scaled automatically. So I think that's the biggest advantage. And then there's plenty more, especially going for development speed and innovation speed. There's things we can do in the smaller new service now that would take half a year in Fit, and that's depressing.
Any more questions?
I'm also curious. Have you also made different technical choices for each services, or are they all based on the same technologies?
We are, as we've developed our vision, we are kind of now moving into a bit of a singular direction, like applying as much as we learn from the new services back in older services as well. So no, but we can.
Anybody else?
Well, thank you.
If not, yeah, let's give a warm thank you.